Let's go ahead and get started on tonight's newscast. So, welcome to the Radio Free Hub City newscast, live from Honeypot Acres Studio in Hagerstown, Maryland. I'm your host, DJ Warbuckler, the Red Pilled Yahoo. And joined by me today is DJ BB, the Dingbat. So, what is the newscast? It's a podcast format show where we talk about local and global news that matters the most to Hub City. The full recording of this show will be available through Spotify as well as X for replay. Unlike our regular monthly newscast, tonight's episode is an in-depth look at a single important topic for Hub City residents. Now, let's take a look at tonight's focus topic. Tonight's focus topic is the struggles that local poor and elderly face due to some of the restrictions that they face when dealing in commerce. I think that's probably the best way to put that. And whether that be some of the problems they have with finding somewhere to pay their bills, some of the problems they have with just finding food in general due to food deserts, or some of the problems they have with places just not accepting cash. We're going to touch on all of that tonight. But BB, I'll let you get started as usual. Talk to me a little bit about this problem.
Is the world's largest family-friendly dispensary open in the old sheets yet? That's what I need to know for this one. I don't know what. I mean, okay, so I guess we should start with the food deserts, probably. Just for those that might not know, a food desert is where you have a residential area, or even, it might be rural, but rural or residential without a lot of amenities around. And there are places to buy food, but not really places to grocery shop. And so that really limits access to healthy things. And it also, you save, it's estimated you save about $16 per plate when you cook at home. And if all you have access to is mostly prepackaged or heat and eat type things, those are more expensive because they're convenient. They're convenience foods. So it could seem like there's a lot of places to choose from, but really there isn't one place that someone could walk to and carry all their stuff back and get good healthy food. That's the problem.
Yeah, and we have that problem a lot in this area. We really do. In that there's, quite often people who, especially those who don't have transportation, that, they might not necessarily have a grocery store nearby, but they've got a convenience store. They've got a 7-Eleven. They've got a Penny Mart. They've got a Sheetz. And the problem with that is because it's a convenience store, because it's convenient, you're going to pay a premium on that food. And in some cases, it's going to be double what you would pay in a grocery store. And that's definitely a problem that we're seeing here in the area. Now, I know there's been some efforts, and I'm not going to call out any organizations by name, but I know there's been some efforts to try to address this. But unfortunately, they have failed miserably. And they, and I'm not going, like I said, I'm not going to call out the organization by name that did this, but we did have an organization recently that they opened up a convenience store specifically saying that it was going to be providing the local area residents with a better option for food purchases and more, more affordable, more healthy. Well, I have some serious issues with that when you open this up and you claim that your whole goal is to help people, but then all you do is you get something from a local grocery store, and instead of doubling the price of it, you only increase it by 1.5 times, something like that. And then in addition to that, then you go ahead and you put in a lottery machine and plenty of, candy and prepackaged junk. And I've got a serious issue with that because you're not helping people. Okay, are you giving them maybe a slightly better option on the food? Yeah, it's probably slightly better. But don't tell me that that's actually trying to help people. You're not helping people. You're still profiting off of them. You're profiting significantly off of them, especially when you put that lotto machine in there. Especially if the nearby demographic is mostly elderly people. Now you are enabling those elderly people. You're making it easier for them to spend their money on lotto tickets instead of food. And that just does not sit well with me.
Yeah, it doesn't sit well. I don't, because I feel like you can't really say that you are trying to help people if you gave them something they already have a dozen of within walking distance. That's not really helping. You know what I mean? Like if I am thirsty and I have 12 cookies in front of me, it's not really helpful if I'm like, oh my gosh, Buckler, I'm dying of thirst. And you're like, here, have a cookie. Like that doesn't help me because I still didn't get what I needed.
Or here, have some salt water. That's
Like
probably even a better analogy.
Yeah. And I just can't. I don't. It's like when someone says it's the thought that counts, I feel like sometimes there needs to be more thought then, I guess, is a good way to put it. If it's the thought that counts, then please make it a very thorough thought because this was not it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm going to go ahead and say now that this is not the only thing that I've seen lately where we have organizations that are claiming to be trying to help out the poor, but really they're just targeting them. They're not actually helping, they're targeting them. They're taking advantage of the poor. And let me give you a great example. All right. So let's say, once again, I'm not going to name any specific organization on this, but there are thrift stores out there that claim to be empowering people. Okay. And maybe those thrift stores, maybe they do some good with some of their other programs, but then the same thrift stores, you go to that thrift store and you've done this. I know you have. You go to that thrift store and you look for, hey, I need to get myself a new shirt, or I need to get myself a new pair of shoes. Okay, well, I really don't need something new. I can just get something used. All right, I just need something that'll last me for a while. So I'll go there because, well, this is a thrift store. They're supposed to be able to save me money, and most of the stuff has probably been donated anyway. So I'm going to go to this thrift store and I'm going to buy myself a pair of shoes and not realize that because I don't have the transportation to get to Walmart, that those shoes at this thrift store are actually marked up above the brand new price of a similar pair of shoes.
Right.
That is not helping people. That is taking advantage of people. That is taking advantage of the fact that these people don't have the transportation, taking advantage of the fact that the people trust you and think that you are giving them a good deal. And that's not acceptable to me. And like I said, I'm being as nice as I can be on this. I'm intentionally not mentioning organization names, but at the same time, I'm hoping they hear this, and I hope they realize it. And this should be a wake up call that we're not the only ones that see this, and that there's a lot of people in the community that are aware of this and have tried to convince others to stop supporting these organizations completely because of it.
Yeah. And it did happen to me personally, and that brings up something twofold. I firstly, I pulled a shirt off the rack, and it was literally it still had the tags on it, and it was $2 more on the thrift store tag. And I'm like, what? and so like I asked about it, and they're like, oh well, that's because it has a label on it, like it had a brand. I won't say which one, but it had a brand on it. But nothing like designer, you know what I mean? Just like regular fast fashion, well-known popular brand. But it hasn't, I would say popular maybe 10 years ago. And anyway, so it wasn't a mistake, you know what I mean? Like that, they were just literally asking more than the store was originally asking for it. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay, like, no, thank you. And like, it wasn't anything fancy.
So it wasn't a collector's item, right?
No. And it was it was a plain t-shirt. Like it was just the tag that had the label. So like it wasn't, and this is a brand that you could get at like a Walmart, a Target, a Ross, somewhere like that. Like not even stuff that they would sell at the mall, department store, like type place. Okay. Nothing fancy. And I love shopping at thrift stores because, I like to wear crazy things and I get compliments on my outfit all the time. And I love being able to tell people this is thrifted. It was like $2 because then other people know, like, you don't have to have a lot of money to dress fun. Like I want people to know that as well. Like I was a big fan of thrift stores because I was like, yes, everybody should shop here. That way everybody feels great when they come here. Like, normalize shopping thrifted things. It cuts down on waste and it makes everybody feel like, okay, I could come up with something fun for $10. Like I don't need to spend $50 on an outfit for one occasion. Like why? So to me, that kind of does that too, because now I'm like, I can't even in good conscience suggest that, because if I send someone of little means in there, they're going to pay more than if I just took them to the original store with me. I can't, you know, I can't ask people on a limited budget to shop where things are more expensive than they are at a different store.
Right. Well, and also too, I mean, so I suspect that probably in some cases this is another issue of convenience, where it may be more convenient for some of the people to walk to these thrift stores than it would be for them to walk to Walmart, walk to Target. And that's
Right.
that's unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. Once again, that's not helping people. That's taking advantage of their situation. And when these are organizations that claim to be, having a mission where they want to help out the poor and disadvantaged, are you really sticking to your mission by doing that? Are you really helping these people by doing this? And I say no. I say absolutely not. And
it makes me question contributing to, because most of these places are not just a thrift store. Like most of the thrift stores are connected to a larger nonprofit that has several programs in the community. You know what I mean? Like there,
right.
I mean, one of my favorite ones at the outlets is Overwatch. That's one of my favorite thrift stores that's privately owned. But the rest of them, I can't really think, they're all attached to a charitable or nonprofit entity in some way. And so I kind of feel like when I see some of these other projects in the community not going well, like certainly not just the corner marketplace or wherever, but like several projects like that, like community events that it just really seems like a lot of money was spent, but nothing was really done for the community. You know what I mean? Kind of like a facade, if you will. So to me, it's like, okay, let's say I do want to pay $2 more for this shirt just to help them out. But what, I don't really want that extra $2 going to stuff that I look at and I'm like, oh man, like that was such a missed opportunity.
Well, and so, okay, all right, let's talk about the Overwatch for a second. Okay, first of all, this program is not sponsored by the Overwatch. They have not paid us a single dollar. All right. Now, with that said, myself and BB, we both were big fans of the Overwatch. They are a privately owned, for-profit thrift store. Okay, and they are out
in
at
the outlets. So you're already shopping
at the outlets. Yes, they're out at the outlets, and I want you to realize that the reason we're actually bringing them up is because you can go to that for-profit thrift store and you will find stuff significantly cheaper than at a regular, any of the nonprofit thrift stores in the area. Significantly cheaper than Walmart, significantly cheaper than Target. And that just blows my mind, because I also know that the Overwatch, and they don't talk about this a whole lot, but they do a lot of veterans organization give backs as well. So
and
now
local
we're
community
talking
outreach.
about right, and now we're talking about
items
a,
from the store in
private,
mass for free, like
right.
out of their own pocket. Nobody's funding that. They're just saying, here, you're in need. You can have this. Like,
So what? I mean, we have a privately owned for-profit thrift store that is helping people more efficiently than a non-profit thrift store. That just blows my mind. I'm just completely flabbergasted by the fact that
the opposite. Like when I first started thrifting in my teens, people used to tell you, make sure you go support a nonprofit because they do so much. Don't shop at a for-profit thrift store. Like that was considered tacky. And now it's kind of like, you mention names of like, oh, I got this at such and such a thrift store. And people are just like, oh my God, why do you shop there? Haven't you seen? And I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm trying to help.
Right. So yeah. And I really wish that the struggles for some of our poor and disadvantaged in the area ended there. I really wish it ended with just the welfare programs. I really wish it ended with
it would help if people that are in the position to make decisions about things like this, it really is one of those put yourself in that person's shoes. Like, imagine that you only have $5 and at this store you can get one shirt used.
Right.
But if you go to a different store, you can get that shirt new and a pair of socks. Like, you have to put yourself in their shoes. If you build a store, look around and say, if I lived here and I couldn't get to any other store, would I find the things that I need in here that I can't get anywhere else? You have to ask these questions.
Yeah. And like I said, I really wish that it stopped there. So we're going to move on, and we're going to talk on a little bit more about some other issues that I know that some of the local poor and elderly face in the area. But BB, any last thoughts on the thrift store part?
Nope, I'm sticking with the I guess my last thought is that, fortunately we are in 2024, so it's real easy to look into stuff. So if you are thinking like, hey, maybe I want to go thrifting, maybe I want to support a charity or something, you should 100% just do a little bit of research, just a couple clicks, and you can find out, like, read the comments, read the reviews, and just see the testimonials, and the internet court of common opinion will let you know what kind of experience most people have had, and then you can choose wisely. I think that's a good idea.
Another good resource, there's a couple resources out there specifically for charities. Charity Navigator and I think GuideStar is the other one, and they actually give you insight on as far as what do they actually do with the finances on some of these nonprofits. But like you said, in some cases, you definitely need to also look at what are people actually saying about these nonprofits as well. So, okay, great. All right. Well, the second topic then I wanted to bring up is something that it was definitely a struggle for myself when I was a lot younger. I can tell you that. And that's places that don't accept cash. Now, it wasn't too much of a problem for me because for the most part, most places still accepted cash back when I was a lot younger. But it's when I was younger, I carried cash on me. Very rarely did I ever actually have any money in my bank account. I had cash on me, nothing in my bank account. But we've got a significant push recently, and you know what? I'm not going to hold back on this one, because this one is, I'm not going to hold back on it because yes, the local baseball team, the Flying Boxcars with Meredith Park, have announced that they will be cashless. that they will not accept any cash payments at the stadium. Now, I was informed by third party that it sounds like they may offer the ability to purchase reloadable gift cards or something at the main stands or something with cash. But I haven't seen any official announcements on that. But here's the problem with the going cashless. We have some serious issues in this country where there are people who are significantly poorer than the rest. All right, people that are far below the poverty line, and Washington County is no exception to that. In fact, we have a higher percentage of people in poverty here in Washington County than we do in the state of Maryland. Here in Washington County, it's 11.7% of residents are below the poverty level. I believe the state average is only 4.5%. So, which it's interesting that it's around that same area, because 4.5% also happens to be the percentage of households in the U.S. who do not have bank accounts. Okay, so and likely most of them probably do not even have a credit card either. All right, so and also something else that I want to bring up too is that and yeah, I'm going to start getting a little bit political in here on this one. Is we have in this state fought against requiring photo IDs to vote because those who are poorer and disadvantaged have difficulty obtaining photo IDs. So we need to let them vote. But if you don't have a photo ID, you can't get a bank account. You can't open up a credit card without a photo ID because they have to have proof that you are who you say you are. So what ends up happening is that you get reloadable cards, and you're going to pay significantly higher fees on these reloadable cards just to keep reloading money onto them. And now we're continuing that cycle of poverty. We're continuing that cycle of we're getting taxed for being poor. So, BB, I'll let you take over on that because I need to take a breath. But this breaks my heart that we have so many people in this county. 1 in 10 is probably now being excluded from the baseball games just because they don't have a credit card. They don't have a bank account.
Yeah, I want to start by saying that I've been to plenty of cashless places, and that is fine if you have an even exchange mechanism, like a gift card or a bracelet, like with a QR code on it, whatever, so you can pay at the park. And I actually, in many cases, prefer that because that means I can take my debit card to the ATM, get the cash out, get the gift card, or even I could pay with my debit card if I wanted to get the gift card. And then I could use that inside the park and not have to worry about I dropped my credit card if I lost it in this crowd, or what if there's a cybersecurity issue? I would much rather do that. Just give me a way to do that. I think that's fine, and I think that is fair to everyone because it doesn't matter if you pay with cash or card. Even if all you have is a couple of bills in your wallet, you can still exchange that, use it, and come right in. Just make it accessible. Just make it accessible. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, and the accessibility is the big problem. The big challenge is, and I understand there's some people that, they've got these conspiracy theories about, we're going to completely cashless society because they want to track everything that we do. And, well, I hate to break it to them, but most of you just aren't that interesting. Most of you, they're not going to care what you do. They're not going to actually pay attention to what you do. Sorry to break it to you. You're not that interesting. But at the same time, I understand their concerns. I understand there's definitely some privacy concerns around that. If I go to somewhere that I'm purchasing, let's say, medication, all right, and it's over-the-counter medication, and I don't want someone to know that I'm sick. that I'm buying these bills for whatever my problem is, I pay cash. Okay, and this is just hypothetical, by the way. But at the same time, you know, there's also the possibility that if I use a credit card and there's a credit card breach, now that payment transaction information might get compromised. Let me put my cybersecurity hat on for a second. The more often we use our credit cards, the more likely they are that we're going to get our payment information compromised. So at the same time, people should absolutely have a choice whether they want to go cashless or not. But it should be their choice, not the merchant's choice. Definitely not an event or sporting center's choice, because now you're just excluding people, and you're telling them, well, you have to take that risk, or you need to have that minimum amount of money in your bank account so you can have a bank card, or you need to have a photo ID so you can have a bank card, you can have a photo ID so you can have a credit card. And that
Right.
the exclusion of people is just not acceptable to me.
No, and I feel like it's a multifaceted exclusion situation, because one of the things that really upset me was that because we all know the new parking garage won't be done until next year. There's already, I mean, the residents on Summit are having trouble finding places to park because it's still construction. And then so you're supposed to take an Uber or a Lyft to Hatter's Plaza, like the alley next to the stadium. But you're only allowed in 30 minutes before the game. So I'm thinking, like, okay, so let's say I drive and I park in the parking garage where I've been asked to park. That means I either have to walk, which, in the daytime, it's not so bad. I don't like to walk around anywhere. I'm not even bashing on Hagerstown. I don't really want to walk by myself or with little children after dark in a place that I don't live and know everybody. So, I mean, and if I have a child in a car seat, I can't very well just bring the car seat for this walk. So then I have to pay $10 more for an Uber or a Lyft with a car seat. And then I have to, they can charge a premium if there's a lot. I mean, this is going to hold thousands of people. So then I guess we're expecting thousands of Uber or Lyfts or curb drop offs. So where are all those cars going to be parked? Like, how long is it going to take them to get there? How much is it going to cost me when thousands of other people need a ride? Like, to me, that just seems like it excludes a lot of people to either not have a shuttle service or something, like just a couple buses at least, so that a lot of people don't really care for Uber. Like, minors can't ride in Uber or Lyft unattended for good reason. um like, it just seems to me like it's not really, that would be really difficult for a lot of people, because now you're not just paying for admission and then probably concessions because you can't bring any kind of food or drink in or anything, but then you're also paying for a taxi at a premium rate twice.
Well, okay, so if only we had like a county bus service that could possibly step in and just set up a shuttle service on game nights. Wouldn't that
Right.
be nice? Be able to
I
shuttle
would
people.
love to, and that
Well,
would be safe. Like,
yeah,
it's county
well,
branded. There's a dozen other revelers on here. We are going to the parking garage. It says so on the front. Like, I'm cool with that.
yeah. Well, okay. So, and I get it. I know why they're doing this. Okay. And this was explained to me a while back. Is that the idea is they want people to park in the parking garages in downtown Hagerstown in the core and walk. They want them to walk, and that way they're walking past all the businesses, and they'll patronize those businesses on their way to the game or the way back from the game. And that
Which
sounds
is
good in
not a bad
theory.
idea. That's not a bad idea. But then
No.
in that case, you should provide, or at least, at the very least, vet and suggest some sort of shuttle service. Like, you can't say you can't park here. You have to hop on the internet and figure out your own right. And that's another thing that excludes seniors. Like, I I'm sure there are some seniors that are familiar with Uber and Lyft, but that can be confusing if they've
Yeah.
never used it before. Like you have to make an account. And safety is a real big thing. You really have to know how to use the app. That way you know what your driver is supposed to look like and what kind of car they're supposed to be driving. Like there are safety things here. And if you're brand new to this, that's
Yeah.
kind of a bad time to find it out, you know?
Well, and also, let me say there are some people out here. I mean, yes, they have handicap parking at the stadium. They said they said it'll be close to the entrance. I don't know how much parking they'll have available, but at the same time, there are some of us like myself who get winded very easily when walking longer distances, but I don't qualify for a handicap parking permit. Okay. I can tell you right now that it's going to take me twice as long to walk that distance between the parking garage and the baseball stadium if I were to do that. And all, but at the same time, I want to go back a couple months here to an incident that I had on what would be the route to that stadium, in that I am in downtown Hagerstown, and while I am in downtown Hagerstown, I was going to stop and get something to eat. And while I'm there, there's a gentleman on the sidewalk, clearly inebriated by some sort of chemicals, whether it be drugs or alcohol. I don't know. I suspect it was drugs. And he was flailing about very violently and screaming at himself, basically, and screaming at other people. I didn't see him actually go towards anyone, but at the same time, I did not feel safe leaving my car on that same street as him. I did not feel safe walking past him, and that's the kind of issues that the city needs to address if they're going to want people to feel safe walking to this stadium. If they're going to want, especially coming back from a game late at night, they have to address this. And so, we have all these different issues that are coming up now. And I know we've strayed a little bit here off of it, but at the same time, the poor and the elderly, they're less likely to be able to defend themselves anyway. Oh, and by the way, you can't defend yourself because no weapons are allowed in the stadium, even if you have a concealed carry permit.
I'm glad
But
about that, actually.
well,
Man, if I get shot at a boxcar game, I'd be so mad.
uh,
But also, like back to the ride share stuff, like the Uber and Lyft, that also requires that you've got digital payments set up on your phone and you know how to use it. Because the Uber driver isn't taking cash or swiping your credit card. So that, that's another thing where that's very, what if you don't have a smartphone? How are
right.
you supposed to get a ride? What if you don't know how to use these things? What if you don't have any payment methods saved? Like, it's just one of those, again, just put yourself in, pretend you're not you, pretend that you are a person, like the worst case scenario person for this setup. Not that there's anything wrong with the person, but just that this is not the ideal setup for them. And then
Yeah.
you think of things that would be prohibitive to that person and you think of a way to fix it, just one by one. That's the hopeful part, is that it would just take some little changes and just a little extra care, and this could all of it could be wonderful for a crap ton of people. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, and
it's
it's
not
sad.
too late. You know what I mean? It's not too late at all.
Yeah.
Like, and it's okay to say, oh my goodness, thank you for bringing that to our attention. We didn't think of it that way, or we didn't think that this would be perceived this way. We truly thought we were helping. Thank you
Right.
so much, and so what should, and just take public input then. If people are tired of the public being mad and complaining about everything, then and it doesn't even have to be at an official meeting or anything. Pop that on Facebook. People leave comments and feedback all the time. Just ask, like, hey, this has come to our attention that this could use a fix. What are some ideas? And then
Yeah.
people can't be mad because they had every opportunity to speak.
Right. And that is the problem at the end of the day, is that people feel excluded. People feel they aren't being
And
heard.
then people get excited in that situation. Like, if you give someone an idea and they actually like work on carrying it through to fruition or say, hey, great, that's a great solution, that makes you feel good. That makes you want to be involved. Like, hey, what else can I do to help then, since you're a person that, is listening? What else can I do to help you? Like, that's what builds
Yeah.
community and solves problems.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, all right. Well, we're coming up on, actually, we're a little bit over half an hour. Probably go ahead and wrap this up for the day. This has been a great conversation, I think. BB, any last thoughts?
No, no, thank you for coming to our red-pilled Yahoo dingbat TED Talk.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening. But that's it for tonight's newscap. Then, on behalf of BB and myself and all of Radio Free Hub City family, thank you for listening. And we hope that you'll join us next time. And don't forget to visit our website for more local and national news at radiofreehubcity.com.